So the first thing first, venue, wedding date, wedding planner. You definitely want a planner to help navigate you through this process, even if it's just day of. You want a planner.
You do want a planner.
You do. My cousin got married when I was 17 and I was her maid of honor, and she didn't have a wedding planner that she hired. It was a friend. And the day of was just so chaotic because there's no way for you to get all the family photos you want, right? Like these are things that people don't think about. Like you want all your family photos, all these key people in your photos. Who's going to wrangle up all those family members to make sure they're in the photo?
Yeah, well, someone's going to compromise that day, right?
Yes.
So you just have to be really honest. I'm like, if I'm not hiring a wedding planner, someone will fill in that role. And is that fair of my maid of honor or closest friend to be that person? Hi, my name is Aggie, and this is Biohacking Bestie. The one-stop shop for a modern queen, where you can find biohacking courses, self-growth courses, and where you can find the most incredible community of women so you can hit all of your biohacking goals and beyond. All right. Can you see how excited I am? I mean, if you're listening, then you can't see, but probably you can hear because I'm like screaming into your ear. Today, we have such an amazing guest, someone who's not going to be talking about biohacking and nutrition, It's also great, but sometimes there are more fun things in life, like weddings. And so today, I'm joined by Nairi, the wedding fashion expert, who I wish I met earlier in my wedding journey. And by the way, I'm getting married this summer. So I thought it would be very just true to me to invite people and talk about things that are very real and present for me. So Nairi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And so we're taking a little break from biohacking. If you're listening to this on Spotify, then you should go on YouTube and actually see what we're wearing. And we're actually both wearing beautiful wedding gowns that Nairi brought from her salon. And my first, when we first met, my first was like, dang, I wish I met you earlier.
Yeah.
Just because you you were so helpful, so understanding. You were like the therapist and the fashion stylist and everything in between. I was like, oh my God, I feel so like you're so patient with me and all my million requests about dress that I just want to extend this opportunity because I know not everyone in the US and the world get to work with you.
Yes.
But I want them to have access to you just by having this conversation and seeing what is it like to actually properly plan your wedding and what's the best way to go about it and how to navigate that without becoming a Brazil, what do you call
Bridezilla.
Bridezilla, there you go. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So how does one start their wedding journey? Like you just got engaged and what do we do next?
Okay, I love this question because you get engaged and the first thing I would recommend is venue. You need to figure out where you're getting married.
Which is super hard.
So hard because that also determines the date. And so the thing is we need to know what the date is so that you can reverse engineer everything from the date. So your wedding dress takes 6 to 8 months to order, and then you want to leave a couple months for alterations. So the first thing first, venue, wedding date, wedding planner. You definitely want a planner to help navigate you through this process, even if it's just day of. You want a planner.
You do want a planner.
You do. My cousin got married when I was 17 and I was her maid of honor, and she didn't have a wedding planner that she hired. It was a friend. And the day of was just so chaotic because there's no way for you to get all the family photos you want, right? Like these are things that people don't think about. Like you want all your family photos, all these key people in your photos. Who's going to wrangle up all those family members to make sure they're in the photo?
Yeah, well, someone's going to compromise that day, right?
Yes.
So you just have to be really honest. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, if I'm not hiring a wedding planner, someone will fill in that role.
Yeah.
And is that fair of my maid of honor or closest friend to be that person?
I wouldn't recommend it because I would recommend that you have a point person.
A stranger.
A stranger, yes, that's working with you alongside you. It's going to make or break your experience. And I promise you, once you experience it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it took that moment for it to actually happen, for me to identify like, oh my goodness, having a wedding planner is worth every single penny because then everybody gets to sit back, relax, and actually enjoy this event that you have spent, majority of people have spent a year planning for. So you actually get to enjoy all of it.
Which is the point of it, right?
It is. Yeah. It is. Yes. And of course, it's about the event and the memories and the photos, but you want to enjoy that moment. And a wedding day comes and goes so quickly, so much faster than you'd ever imagine. So first things first, wedding planner, venue, date, in whichever order makes sense to you,
Mhm. So I would
whichever
just say,
order.
like, for us, we had a really hard time picking the place and the venue because we would look up the most beautiful places, and we're like, okay, obviously we traveled so much. We were together to over 100 countries, so we're like, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be so hard to pick like the place, and so we would go and we would even travel to those places, thinking like, wow, like this place is like trendy, and this person's like absolutely stunning, and this is like breathtaking, and each
Yeah.
one of them, they just didn't resonate, and we ended up deciding getting married in a place that's kinda like ours, that maybe wasn't exactly the most trendy or the coolest or whatever, but for us, it just was somewhere that meant a lot to us, and
Yeah,
I think that's really special
it
because I was
is.
like, I wanna go back and visit that place for my wedding anniversary instead of just random place, like, uh, that I would never go back to because it's such a cute place to then take your kids. It's like, "This is our favorite place, and this is where mommy and daddy got married."
I love that. I'm a sentimental person too, so that resonates so much with me. I would want it to be something really thoughtful, meaningful, a place, and a destination wedding is my personal
Yeah.
favorite. I like taking everyone I love out of their environment because then they
Yeah.
only have to like their only focus is our celebration and making memories together and creating a trip out of it. And any wedding I've ever attended as a guest, my favorite weddings have always been destination weddings
Because
because
you disconnect, right? And, like, you're
exactly.
present, and you're actually
Yes.
just, like, and, people say, like, "Oh my god, asking people to travel across the world is such a big ask," but when you can, like, curate such a beautiful experience, I don't know
Yes.
many people that would mind a destination wedding, because once you're in, you're like, "Wow, like, this is magical."
So many of my brides that come into Lovella and I help style them, and they tell me, "Oh, we're doing a destination wedding to help bring the number count low. We're inviting everyone and hoping that they're going to decline." And then they come back to me for their alterations, and I always ask because I'm curious.
Mhm.
So, how many people actually declined? And they're like, "Everyone said yes. We had more yeses than we could have ever imagined." Because is
Yeah, it's just like,
that
so we invited 105 people, and we're like, "Cool," and we kept telling our wedding planner, I'm like, "It's gonna be 80." Like,
yeah.
it's so far, like, people have people from all over the world, people will say no. It's actually for, like, 101, we're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's, like, crazy. I was like, "Why are people I'm like, I'm stoked, but I was confident at least 20% would, like, say no.
And they don't, and that's why people are like, "Oh, we're not gonna do a destination wedding, it's too far, they're not gonna
Mm,
come." Everyone's so excited because you're giving them a reason to take time off of work, and we all work so hard. We're just in this, especially if you're in the US, right? It's the
yeah.
culture of working, but at what point in time do you stop and enjoy? You're giving people an excuse because if they don't have an excuse, they're not going to do it, and that's why everybody shows up.
Yes, and so here's another thing. So if you're anything like me, a recovering people pleaser, that's not doing very well recovering, I immediately think, oh my God, I want my friends to have the most amazing experience. I'm going to be doing this and that. And it's really easy to get caught up into pleasing other people for your
Yes.
wedding day. But ultimately, if they are real friends and family, they're going to see how much joy you have. And that's just going to be so much joy for them, right?
Yes.
So there's certain things like logistically that you want to just avoid painful, like having people have no water, or like organize something super, like making them stand in the sun for 4 hours. But at the end of the day, like, you having fun and making it your days way more important than you trying to overthink, like, we're not doing any gifts for our guests and stuff like that, because I was just like, it's just would stress me out too much and put
Yes.
the focus on them instead of
Yes.
me. So I'm just trusting that my friends would be happy to just see me
They
happy.
will. They will. If I was a guest that showed up and I didn't have a gift, is that what you're saying? Like a
Yeah, yeah,
welcome
yeah.
gift?
Welcome
Or
gift.
yeah, I
We're not
honestly
doing that.
okay, so anytime I've been to a destination wedding and I've gotten the welcome gift, it's cute and all, but like a lot of the things in it, I don't even need or want. And I
I want to
feel
leave
bad.
behind.
Yeah, or want to leave behind. And I feel bad. You've put so much effort and
Yeah,
energy into this and money, time,
yeah,
all, and it's a destination. So somehow you had to get these things there, right?
yeah.
Maybe I'm biased, so for people tuning in that don't agree with me, but, like, I just think
Let
it's a
us know.
waste.
Comment
Yeah,
on there.
comment.
Yeah.
Let us know, but I just think a welcome basket isn't necessary. That's just me, though.
And it adds up so quickly. So
It
let's just
does.
talk about things that are necessary, and then we switch to the dresses because that's where you basically your
My
forte is.
expertise, yes.
But yeah, I want to just talk about, like, before you even decide on the dress, like, we need to have an idea. Is it hot? Is it cold? Like, what's the vibe? Do I go super formal? Do I go bohemian? Do I want to change the dress and whatnot? So what is like a necessary, what would you say if you had a budget? how much of it should go towards the dress? Is it worth it? What else would you splurge on, and what would you save on?
In terms of the attire or the entire wedding, what would you split?
Everything.
Oh
Let's just do
gosh.
the wedding, and then
Okay.
we do attire.
Okay, great. So splurges for me
Mhm.
are 100% food, because any wedding I've ever been to where the food is not good, it is the one thing that people talk about that they left the wedding hungry. So
Mm.
food is at the top of the list for me.
Oh, that's such a good
Yeah,
advice.
food is at the top, because I always ask people questions like, "What was your experience?" Because at the end of the day, while yes, you're the one getting married and it's about your experience, but it's also about everyone's experience. You should be eating the food too. Most
Yeah.
brides and most brides and couples in general, they say that, oh, I didn't have a chance to eat the food. But then I have other couples that are like, I spent so much time and money on this food. I'm gonna sit and eat the entire thing. And you need to eat.
Yeah.
So I think that food for everyone is top of my list. The next thing is going to be music. Because again, it's all about the
Mm.
experience. Your experience is, are you dancing? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
But also the guests. And that's a moment that you share with everybody. So for me, it's like in the order of the wedding day, it would be music, food, well, wait, food, music, photography, because the
Mhm.
day and videography. So like the day comes and goes so quickly, but the moments that are captured are what you're going to hold on to for a lifetime, right? You're going to look back at those videos, you're going to have those photos framed in your home. So that, and then your hair, your makeup, and your attire, because what is in those photos? It's how you look, how you feel, that exudes through your photos and your videography. So for me, I think that's pretty much it. Is obviously the atmosphere, the florals, all of that's
Mhm.
amazing and beautiful, but people are going to remember the music, the food, and for you, it's going to be how you looked, how you felt, and your hair, makeup, dress, all that in your photos.
So I have an advice for those listening for about when it comes to photography. So obviously my fiance is a photographer. So it was
Yes.
really hard for us to pick a wedding photographer. And we got caught up into going on people's Instagrams, those photographers' Instagrams. I'm like, wow, he's amazing photos. So, and mind you, I didn't know. I was out of the loop. I didn't know
Yeah.
wedding photographers $45,000.
Yes.
So I was like, what? Like, we want there? Like, okay. Or am I like renting you for 6 months? So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So jokes aside, obviously they're great. So it's a little bit of a shock. But what the reason why we kind of got attracted to them because they had these like super spectacular shots. And then I had this thought, I was just like, I need to start asking them for like seeing photography of one wedding instead of looking like the
Yes.
one shot from one wedding and one from the other. Like
Smart.
the so I and you would be surprised those guys that were like $45,000 a day. I was like, this doesn't really tell a story. So I asked him for all the just like pick one ceremony that you think represents you the most and show me all the photos. And we ended up picking an amazing woman who's a surprise. Her name is Holly. I can say, and she had this incredible gift that it was a close up, emotion, wide shot, emotion of the mother of the bride. So she has like a separate photographer just for guests to like show
Love
like
that.
that, and then one for the bride, one from the groom. And it was so well documented, such a beautiful storytelling. I'm like, I watched this and I felt like I was at that wedding. So don't get
Beautiful.
fooled by Instagram, because if you go to her Instagram, you'll probably be like, oh yeah, like she's really good, but like, she doesn't try to wow you with just one photo. And I
Right.
think that's what to me was super important, to actually ask them and see mother of the bride, what about your bridesmaids? Are you the only one that like has a good photo? Like some of these photographers, I'm like, where is the bride walking down the aisle? Can you see the face of the groom? And there was no face of the groom. I'm like, I would like to see what was Jacob's first reaction when he
Of
sees me.
course. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And these are great points for anyone tuning in and listening. Like
Mm.
this is, you really thought it through in a
Yeah.
way. And I love it because those are things that most couples don't even think about. They just hire a photographer to check it off their list, and they
And
only
they
look at
spend
the
so much
price point.
money, right? Like, oh, if it's
Yeah.
cheap, then it's probably the person's not good. And if they're expensive, they must be good.
Correct. But at the end of the day, you have to realize photographers are humans and they have a shot list, but in the moment, things can happen and they forget certain shots. I know
Yeah.
photographers that have done it, but they'll own it and they'll come back to you like, hey, I forgot this shot. I need to make this up to you. But it does happen. So another thing is like if you have a lot of shots that you specifically want to capture with certain family members, someone that day needs to have that
Mm,
list to make sure that those photos get taken because
yeah.
it moves so quickly, you could miss shots that you'll never have
Yeah.
that moment again.
I'm a very organized bride. And I was just like, I I realized that like I have very high expectations. I'm like, it's not fair of my photographer to like just guess what shots I want and then I'll be disappointed they didn't get it. So I found a Pinterest board. I found her photos. I'm like, and I gave her a whole like Pinterest board. I'm like, these are the angles I really like. I would like a photo of my dress, me walking down the aisle, Jacob with like a photo of the two of us walking back from the aisle, a photo with my mom. Like, sounds super simple, but like she was like, "Oh my god, this is so helpful. Like, I know these
Yes.
are the 20 shots I need to get."
Yes. It sounds simple, but they like just like you said, I always tell all my clients, I'm only as good as the feedback you give me because I can't read your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
I don't know what you're thinking. So like if as any and this is good for anything that you do, right?
yeah.
Anything that you want an amazing result, you have to be able to communicate because those serving you are only as good as how well you communicate to them.
Okay, so now let's talk about dresses because we're all like angels and Dalai Lamas until we start getting married and we turn into monsters. So you have a salon in LA, which is probably one of the most demanding places in the world to find wedding dresses.
Yeah.
What are the different kinds of brides that come to you?
You know, here's the cool thing. A lot of our brides are career women. They really don't have time to play games. They need things done quickly, efficiently, in a
Yeah, that was me.
yeah, really in a really beautiful process, right? Like you don't have time to sit there and hours to kill at this.
No, it probably was the 30 or 40
Yeah,
minutes with you.
that was about it.
Yeah.
You were in and you're out, but we were efficient. And
Yeah.
that's what it's really about. And it's actually a beautiful thing because it allows us to just be super productive, right?
Mhm.
I don't really have, everybody always asks me, what's a bridezilla story or what's a really difficult moment that you've had? And luckily, we have really amazing brides. So,
Oh,
like, I really don't have a story that I could be like, oh my gosh, this moment was so horrific. I think the most difficult, not that you even asked this question, but now I'm just on a
yeah.
tangent. I think the most difficult thing for me to watch in my career is when I know a bride isn't buying a dress that she truly loves. She's maybe buying it because of what the family thinks, or because of the price point, or because of someone's opinion that she really cares about that person's
And you
opinion.
can tell?
I can tell because we'll be between two dresses and I can tell which one lights her up because I'm not listening to what anybody else is
You
saying.
just
I'm watching her body language. So she's dancing more in it, she's moving more in it, she's smiling more in it. There's just these subtle things that once you're doing this for a long time, you pick up
yeah,
these
yeah.
little cues from people.
Oh, I have goosebumps. It's so cool.
Yeah, but it's true. Like I'll pick up these cues like this is your dress even if the bride doesn't know it yet and I have to bite my tongue because I can't say that too soon if she's not prepared for it, right? But her body language is telling me she's prepared like this is it. But
Mhm.
then she'll go with another dress and then it'll come time for her fitting and ultimately she'll vocalize at some point that this isn't the dress that I love. And I'm walking down in a gown that I don't feel beautiful and confident in. So that's probably the hardest part
Oh
of
my
my
god, and what
career.
do you
Like
do at that
at
point?
that point, it's you either go and you spend more money and you buy that other dress, or you're walking down and you're taking photos of it. And this is forever photos, right? In a dress that you don't love. So, like,
Mm.
that's a decision you have to make. And for me, the way you look and feel is priceless. Yes, of course, money is important. We have to budget, we have to be responsible, all the things, blah, 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 whatever. Money is currency, it comes and goes. You're going to make more
Yeah.
tomorrow, you're going to lose some tomorrow. It's just the way that money works, right?
Yeah.
It's a river, it flows. So, if you look at it like that, can you really put a price on your beauty and confidence and being excited to marry your person? And I ask my brides this all the time. Well, yes, you come in, and one of the first questions that a stylist is going to ask you, what's your budget? Which
You
I
know what?
hate that.
And your team asked me when I first came to you because I actually went
Yeah.
to your store before we met, and I said I don't have a budget because it's like what has been my issue that sometimes like I wanted to spend so much and my dress wasn't as expensive. Then I was like, oh, like you know what I mean? It can work both ways because you have the need
Yes.
to spend,
There's
and
that
then
too.
and so I was like, "Oh, no." So when I said I don't have a budget, and I was like, "Oh, I actually do because I wanna feel like I'm spending, so it's a big deal." And then I caught myself, actually, I'm not doing that. So I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting what you're saying because do we even have a control over what dress we pick? Because I feel the dress picks us.
100%. I
So it
totally
picks you
agree.
for a
It
reason.
does. It picks you for a reason. And you have control over the decision you make,
Mhm.
right? But there's always a dress that's going to pick you. And then it's up to your brain and your own way of processing if you're going to self-sabotage that. right? Like, are you going to go home and analyze photos and talk yourself out of it? Are you going to give yourself analysis paralysis over this? Or are you going to allow and invite this moment in? Or is your spreadsheet going to sabotage your brain and not allow you to feel the emotions on the I mean, I think that listeners could even, you could think about a time in your life where you made a decision, right? And you look back on it and you're like, oh my God, I made the wrong decision. That was a decision with my brain and not with my heart.
Yeah,
Where this,
100%, which is like you want to follow, it's all about following your heart. So I have two
yeah,
dresses. So the first one, I was like, oh no, I wish I could spend more. And so what the universe did, my second dress is way over my budget. And so I was like, oh my God, it's just so much money. Like, wow. And so I thought it was like for those brides that are like, that fell in love in a really expensive dress. I was like, cool, I'll buy it and I'll resell it because I
yeah,
know it's like, it's a little too expensive for me to keep it and I don't have need to keep it. So I just felt much better knowing that if I resell it, it's actually going to cost me just a few $1,000s.
right. A lot of brides do that.
Yeah,
They
which
do.
is like,
It's a great option. So I will say though, with the reselling, sometimes it takes a long time to resell. So just for
but
the
that's how
brides,
I justify myself.
all good. All good. I just want to set everybody up here for success in the sense of it might take you some time to sell it, but a lot of our brides do recover money that way.
Yeah,
But it
which is
takes time.
what. So when I tried the two, each one of those dresses, I had tears in my eyes. I just like, I would try the most beautiful dress. And I was just like, wow, it's so beautiful. It just like doesn't do it for me. And then I would try something that I potentially wouldn't pick, which is another thing. How many times we
Yeah,
come in and you ask, what do you like? And we tell you,
all the time.
and then we pick something else.
Yeah, but it's
I
still
saw you
super
talk
help.
about it on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, yeah. But it's still super helpful. Like, even if you come in with something, I still want you to come in with something, even
Mhm.
if it's not what you end up with, because it's important to like try on what's in your head. And then there's a small percentage of brides that they come in for something specific and they end up buying it.
Okay.
So it does happen. It's very rare, but it does
So what
happen.
does it usually happen? So like imagine we're like go to your website or go to any other like website and we're like, okay, cool, like I like this one, and I come and I'm like, I just like this, and I try it on and it's like, it looks very different than on a model that's 7 feet tall and
Yeah.
and skinny,
It
right?
does. Yeah. So what would happen is you come in with photos, right? Whether it's your Pinterest, whether it's Instagram, whether it's from our website, whatever it
Mhm.
is, you come in with photos of things that you like, videos, whatever. We try those dresses on. Based on each dress we put on you, you give feedback. I like this. I don't like this. This makes me feel however. You just communicate. Again, only as good as your
Mm.
feedback, right? So, based on everything you tell us, based on your feedback, it leads us to pulling dresses that leads us to finding you your dress. So, even if a dress that you put on you absolutely hate, it's still valuable because we learn that those are qualities that you do not like in a dress. So, we're not going to repeat that. We're going to move on to something else. And
Yeah.
then that way, too, trying everything on is so important because then you won't have any buyer's remorse. You won't go home and think, oh, look, scrolling on Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, and think, oh, I wish I tried that on. And you
Mm.
never did.
Yeah, I have so many things. So number one, it's really important who you're trying the dresses with. And I was super
Yes.
lucky because I've went to multiple salons. I went to salons in Poland, in Paris, in London, Dubai, and LA. So I feel like I ticked all the
Unreal.
boxes because I
Yes, you
was just
did.
like, I want to like, even when we're in Dubai, I was like, I want to come in, try the dress on just to see the experience. It's really scary how much some of the salespeople push on what they like, I don't like this. And I'm like, well, I don't, sorry, give a fuck what you like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like too much. Like they need to allow space for the bride to see how they feel. So if there's someone that you're like trying on a dress and you feel like you're being pushed into a decision, please come back or ask for another assistant because it's like not
Yes.
worth to write off. And not everyone is you. And you were
Yes.
like, oh, you like this? Is just try that. This that accessories. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is
Yeah.
so fun. Not everyone's like that. So you can fire your wedding like stylist, but you can also fire your friends. So I went
I
to one.
love that. That's heavy. Like, that's good. That's
Yeah,
like,
especially
that's a little gem right there. That's really good. You can fire your friends. I love this.
because I would go with friends and I noticed I'm like, oh my God, like everyone, like there are different kinds of friends and some they have a very strong opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I don't think you see me the way I see myself when I see my friends. I'm like, this is so you. And I'm like, it's not me at all. And I actually ended up flying to Paris by myself to get the dress because I was like, I'm fine. Like I need to
Yeah.
actually like check in with myself instead of hearing. And my girlfriend like been amazing. Like, that's not to say that they aren't, but like there was a part of me that was just like, it's okay to do it alone. So if you don't have your bridesmaids, if you don't have girlfriends, I went to your salon alone
Yeah.
as well, and I was totally fine. So it's
A
like,
lot of brides do.
yeah,
A lot of them come alone, and a lot of them come because of everything that you said. They do that alone because they've experienced with all the noise. I call it noise because it
yeah.
is, right? And a lot of times your friends are projecting what they want.
Like, I mean, I would be the same. So no
Yeah,
offense to friends, but I would be
exactly.
like, "Oh, I want this. I'm not getting married, but I would wear this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's not really helpful. Is it me or is it not me?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll just do it myself."
Yeah, it's smart. That's honestly, so many people do that. But you also have to be a certain personality because there's a lot of brides who really rely on other people's opinions to
Hmm.
make decisions through life. So it really depends. I always tell you, oh, also crying in a wedding dress, you're only going to cry if you cry in other decisions in life. Like if you don't cry about things in life, you're not all of a sudden going to cry when you put your dress on.
I have that. I don't know if I'm just getting old or soft or whatever it is, but like I have that about the wedding, like softened so much of my feminine energy
I love that.
that like I even hear the like we picked the wedding song that I'm gonna go down the aisle. I cannot hear it without me starting to cry already. So I'm
Oh,
like, when it comes on, I'm like, stop it, because I cry every time.
you're going to have to keep practicing that because you're going to be sobbing down the aisle.
Yeah, I'll definitely, or yeah. So it's funny, but I think I kind of like it how it like softened,
Yeah.
because I feel like I I don't want to be like in some sort of freeze fawn like
Yeah.
response. And a lot of times when we're super stressed, we don't remember much. We're just standing there like stressed. And I actually would appreciate myself. I would rather cry and look ugly
You're not
than
gonna look ugly
no, but
crying.
like like
Yeah, yeah,
that's like
yeah,
ugly crying than
yeah.
just like not feel anything.
I 100% agree. The only reason why I say don't I mean, you're gonna have
Yeah,
to say your vows still. So
yeah.
if you start down the aisle crying, how are you gonna start? You're gonna need someone with tissues or something.
Yeah, we need to like build in like
Yeah,
pockets.
exactly.
So just like a whole box.
Yeah,
This wedding has been sponsored by Kleenex.
exactly. Oh
So
my
what do you think
gosh.
is like you meet the brides after sometimes when they buy your dress and
Yeah.
after the ceremony? What was like their biggest regret?
The biggest regret is always not buying the dress that they genuinely loved, number
Well,
1. Number 2 would be okay, this is a double this could go both ways. So I would say, like, the other regret is they wish they bought a second dress to change into because they started to feel like the weight of it, depending on
hmm
what style you
hmm
pick. This is really subjective, right? So, like, depending on what you yeah.
So yeah, what's the vibe? Like two dresses, three dresses. Some people like Christy
Yeah.
Teigen had like eight.
Yeah, so it really depends. Like, it depends. A
Yeah.
lot of people are doing a second dress for functionality reasons, not even to be
Hmm.
that like I just want a different fashion look. And then I have brides who will do multiple dresses for the fashion look, right? They want to tell this fashion story. But I would say that the feedback that I get is my dress was more uncomfortable moving around in it than I anticipated. And I wish I had done a second dress. Or other people say, I did a second dress, but I never put it on because I loved my first dress and I was just having so much fun. I forgot to change. Um,
Oh, it's funny.
yeah.
I went to a wedding and a friend of mine just had one dress and then she disappeared for like 30 minutes and came back in like she like sweatshirts as a bride, and she had like blood underneath it. It was just like it was so
No.
sharp that she had to take her wedding dress off.
It happens, and a lot of people get mad at the stores and the designers for it, but at the end of the day, these dresses are they're not intended they
To
should be, right? But to be in all day like, think about it, these celebrities that do the Met Gala, for
Mhm.
example, the Met Gala just happened, right?
You know
They're
they don't even sit down in the car.
exactly. They don't sit in these dresses, they don't even have dinner, they usually change after they do the red carpet, so when you're looking at, like, celebrities that are wearing these really beautiful gowns, they're not staying in it the way that we
Mm.
expect a bride to be able to go throughout the day, so that
And
is
do
the
the first
benefit.
dance in the dress. That's like such a I another explanation. I realized I wanted obviously, I need to have an epic first dance. I'm like, no, that's too stressful. I'm gonna have a pretty dress. I need to just like manage my expectations and not
Yes.
like try like it's dancing with the stars and now that back, but just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not gonna show off with my dancing skills that are not existing because I'm gonna like be in dress and it's like it
Yeah.
was gonna stress me out even more.
Totally. And but that friend that was bleeding, which is so unfortunate, and I have seen things like that happen, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but it is a malfunction that can
Hmm.
can go wrong. But having a backup dress for that is everything. I
Yeah.
mean, even though the sweatpants is kind of cool, like whatever,
Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah.
of fun because
So
then you're just comfortable.
let's talk about different styles. So I'm wearing a kind of like a light, um, what would be like a what would you call this
This
actually?
would be like, okay, so I don't love giving things titles because all of our designers, they create these hybrids that don't really fall into the title. But then also people like, I would consider this a princess cut because it's the natural waist and it's a soft A line.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody else might call it something else. So if
Yeah.
you went to someone and were like, oh, I want a princess cut soft A line, the stylist might bring you something totally different
Yeah, because
because
it's very light. I think
it
I would
is.
possibly could that could be just my one dress. I feel like I can perhaps would like last the whole night. I feel
Yes.
like maybe this is looks a little bit more elaborate and maybe less comfortable. Or how are you
Honestly, it's
feeling?
really comfortable. It's fully structured. This dress isn't going anywhere. It's super lightweight. It has more layers than the one you're wearing, but this I could be
It's
in it
not
all
super
night.
heavy.
Yeah, but I'm also a biased opinion. I wear these dresses all the time. Like this is comfortable for me, but for some actually no, I think for what my brides tell me, I think this would be very comfortable for
Because
people.
there are like some really heavy dresses, right? And
Yes.
so what is the style and like what are the wedding trends 2024? Because it's like part of me I don't even want to listen because I don't want to follow trends, but there are quite a few trends for
There
dresses
are
and then what for weddings.
yes, there are quite a few trends. Although I have to tell you, in wedding dresses, these trends repeat themselves over and over and over again. So there are dresses that we have in Lovella that are from 2020 that brides today are still buying. So
Oh, that's so
in
funny.
in wedding dresses, like a lot of brides are like, I'm gonna wait for the new season to come out.
I used to be like, oh, that was like
You
my
don't have to do that. Like, you do not have to do that. And also, if you start shopping, be prepared to buy because if you are start shopping and then you continue, you start to see stars and stripes and you don't even know what to pick anymore. It gets so confusing.
yeah.
So
You
I
have to
just
draw
don't.
the line at some point. I'm
Yes.
like, I had to like once I picked, I was like, I'm not looking anymore because I feel like it just kept on going and
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah. 100%. So, in terms of the trends that I'm seeing right now, what brides are really loving, it's all over. In terms of silhouette, I get all the requests. So, fitted, ball gowns, you name it. We get it all. The number one thing that brides are asking for right now is going to be a basque waist. So I'm kind of wearing like this ball gown. I don't know. Does this show on camera?
Yeah, a little bit.
The waist?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a lot of brides are asking for a basque waist, which would be kind of like this corset, but it would go into a V. So
Mm.
everybody wants that sharp, sharp V ball gown look that's going to give you that snatched little waist and then accentuate the hips. That's just what's so popular at the
Yeah.
moment. What else? Detachable details. So whether it's a detachable bow or if it's gloves or if it's a detachable overskirt, detachable sleeves, detachable what else?
They're like
There's so much.
ponchos. They do like, yeah.
Yes, capes,
Yeah,
anything
cape.
detachable. Everybody's loving this detachable moment because it feels like you've changed your dress, even though you haven't, and it gives you this beautiful
Yeah.
fashion story, which I love. I'm a huge fan of a fitted dress with an overskirt because then a bride doesn't have to pick between a fitted dress or a ball gown. You get
Yeah.
the best of both
Yeah.
worlds, so you can't have any regret. I would say that those would be the top trends right now. But in terms of like fabrics, whether it's lace, floral detail, texture, rouging, manipulating fabric, it's all there. And it's been trending for years. Like it hasn't gone away. But I
Mhm.
would say that the hardcore trending right now is that basque waist. It's so hardcore. Like
I love it.
literally, if I have 5 brides I'm helping in a day, 4 out of the 5 are asking for a basque waist.
Because it looks so good.
It looks so
Yeah,
good
yeah,
on anybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the wedding trends then? Because I know they're like there's this whole thing that you don't do the traditional aisle when the guests are looking towards the couple, but they kind of look towards the aisle, right? And
Yeah.
it's more like a
Yeah.
runway
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
What else is there? Like no bridal party, right?
Yeah, the no bridal party is trending pretty hardcore. And I wonder why that is. Like, I always ask myself, why are people not okay? Actually, what's trending is a huge bridal party or no bridal party. It's like two extremes.
Oh,
There's
that's
no in
funny.
between. Are we allowed to talk? Are you having
Yeah, no, no.
a bridal
So
party?
I my bridal party is small. It's 3 people because
Okay.
I felt like it's for me. It's very clear who's like super core
Yeah.
group of friend is, and I just thought it would be like a fun for us, like way for us to like dress up and kind of like make those people
Yeah.
stand out a little more. But I can see that the older you get, the less of a need there is because you have the wedding planner and you don't want to ask the friends for like such a big of responsibility. I feel like when I was younger, maybe I would do more of that. And when I'm older, it's just there's no like a role
Right.
as much
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Totally. I would say though, so you're not on trend for the
No,
wedding.
no, and we haven't
You're
been
off
trying.
trend.
Yeah, and same with that. We're not gonna have a like a runway aisle because for me, it's just like I don't want to follow a trend that I don't like just because it's like more in. Like I'm not trying to prove that I'm like fashion forward
And I
because it's
love
gonna
that.
be you know old in 5 or 10 years at my next wedding anniversary, and I'm like,
But that's
yeah.
so valuable for you to share that because I think that a lot of couples planning a wedding are really focused on what's trending. And I always try to steer my brides away from that because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's trending. It's
You're not
what
gonna
do you
remember in 5 years
exactly.
like what was trending. It's like, and the funny thing is, when you look at things that age the fastest, it those who are the most fashion forward, that look the most ridiculous,
Yes.
and the most that are like
Yeah.
more classic and
Yeah.
kind of stay with like the, the like I don't know what to say, like with classic stuff. Like these are
Yes.
the people that don't look funny.
Yeah, totally. Another thing that's trending is people are cutting the cake earlier on in the
Oh,
wedding.
really?
Yes, because they don't want to wait till the end because your hair and makeup is going to look so whatever after you've been dancing and sweating. So people are
Oh,
cutting the cake earlier in the ceremony,
oh,
like in the
interesting.
reception, excuse me, just because it's more functional in terms of
Yeah.
how you look. But I don't
Oh,
know.
that's funny.
Yeah,
So for us, it's like it's not really a secret, but we wanted to have originally the first dance before dinner,
love
and
that.
because we were like, oh, we just want to get it over because it's like stressful.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's gonna be able to happen because there's some logistics but we will have the cake right after dinner, like first dance and then cake right after dinner. So.
good. So then the party will start after you do the cake.
Mhm.
See, that's smart. So that's on trend.
Okay. Well,
That's
I didn't
literally
realize you would have to wait even longer.
Yeah, usually they wait until, like, dessert being served, but, like, later.
Oh,
Like
got it. So for us, we basically were like, okay, we're not serving too much of a dessert, so we would rather be done with dinner quite quickly. So we tell like as soon as we can have dinner, but we have our like midnight meal and like all the snack.
perfect. I
So
love that.
so like we spread it out a little
Yeah,
bit more.
that's great. This is gonna be a fun party.
Yeah, I hope so. We were like trying to like organize as much as possible so we can fully let go and
Yeah.
surrender. I want to talk to you about veils because I know there's the Madonna, the Italian veil
Yes.
that isn't like that.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like there's a lot of lace
Lace. Mhm.
and a cover opens the face. Obviously,
Yeah.
the traditional look would be to cover your face. Oh,
Yes.
this is not working. But then I don't.
Yeah.
I still haven't decided, even
What
though
you're
we're
doing with it?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're a few weeks before the wedding, and I just like I'm gonna see how I feel like right before, because part of me just like I don't know if I want to have my face covered
Yes.
because I'm like I want to see
It
things.
actually looks really dramatic and beautiful
Oh,
right now.
really?
I'm loving this. I'm actually really loving it.
What do you
So
think, Joshua? Yeah, so
it's
my
pretty,
part of me
right?
it's like that mystery,
Yeah.
even though like
Yeah.
underneath, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but then I'm like, I want some nice wedding photos when I'm walking down the aisle,
Okay,
and I
so
want to see my face
here's my recommendation. Who's walking you down the aisle? Are you walking
by
alone?
myself.
By yourself? Who is anyone giving you away?
No.
Okay. So typically what I recommend is
Hmm.
whoever's walking you down the aisle, sometimes it's multiple people that brides have. When they give you away, so you walk down the aisle with your blusher
Close.
forward. Uh-huh. And then when they give you away, they flip it back. So you do your entire ceremony and they give you away with it back. So you get photos of both. You get photos down the aisle covered,
Hmm.
and then ceremony uncovered, walking back uncovered. So
Hmm.
you're getting a
Yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of all the drama. Or if you were having someone walk you down, you stop midway, flip it back, and then
Uh,
continue.
that's smart. I can always like figure this out like
Yes.
halfway through.
Or if someone's at halfway through where like they kiss you or whatever, there's some sort of a transaction of some kind that's meaningful, and then they flip it back, make sure it looks good, and then you continue walking down, or you're
Oh wow,
meeting
that's beautiful.
someone. You know what I mean? There's that way you get photos of both, or after wedding ceremony, you just pretend you're walking down and like the guests would be behind the lens, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And you just take photos of it covered just to have. A lot of couples do that where you just
Oh,
stage photos with your blusher forward, but you didn't really walk down the aisle with it forward.
well, because I think it's like part of it is like cool for photos. Part of me like I want to see my fiance and I want him to see my face, and
Yeah.
a part of me like, will he be able to see like as I'm walking down the aisle because I'm covered? But this part of it is mysterious. I
Yeah.
definitely would take it off as soon as I get to Jacob
Of
because
course.
I would.
100%.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's a little bit long, like sitting there 20 minutes.
Yes.
But no judgment for brides that keep it that long till the first kiss. I just feel like it's a little bit long.
I just don't recommend it because your photos aren't going to show your face.
Yeah.
So I don't ever recommend doing the ceremony with your blusher forward.
Yeah. I
And
think it's
also,
just some ways.
yeah, and also like you want that moment for whoever's standing with you, whether it's your maid of honor, man of honor, whoever's up there with you, to be able to fix your veil, like with it back and everything, so your photos look good. I just think of all the photos all the time. I'm a big photo person because like you got to preserve the memories.
Yeah, well, and it's also like just like it's the attention to detail that we have
Yeah.
around these things, right? And it's just like feeling so loved when someone fixes your dress or fixes your
Yeah.
um veil, because you're so stressed, you don't have time thinking like, is my veil good? You
No.
trust that your bridesmaids are taking care of it. So
Yeah.
if I saw in the photo that my veil is like this, I'll be like, it's like, doesn't matter, you look beautiful. I'm like, no, your only job is to make sure that you're
Yeah.
my eyes when I'm not like paying attention.
One of my brides left her Apple Watch on for part of the wedding. Like she didn't realize she was getting ready. Her watch was on, and she sent me. She's like, "Oh my god, I have these photos, but the Apple Watch is on." And I'm like, "Oh no!" But it happens. Like there are
Yeah.
these details. So if you're a friend out there and your friend's getting married, take care of your bride and your couple. Like if you see something that's off, take it off of them. Tell them if a
Yeah.
tag's sticking out, if a string's sticking out, fix it
Yeah.
because
And
it's in
fix
all
the
the
hair.
photos. Fix
Yeah.
the
And
hair.
like, if let's talk about hair and makeup, because
I was going to say the same thing.
yeah, it's because it's so
Yes.
important.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. This is the part that stresses me out the most, because I feel like with hair and makeup, if someone said you go down the aisle without hair and makeup, I'll be like, cool. Because I love myself without makeup. I have very, very little makeup.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is that the makeup's gonna make me look like not myself. And I would hate that.
Absolutely. Okay. So one of the regrets.
But you know what I mean, right?
Yes. You know, when you asked me about what do brides regret
Yeah.
after wedding day? And the big one is, so I'm going to answer your question, but I want to go back a second. A lot of brides want to change their hairstyle on wedding day from ceremony to reception. They regret how long it took them in that chair to change their hair. The other regret is a lot of brides want to go from an updo for a ceremony to hair down for reception. It should be the opposite. Reception, if you want to wear your hair
That's what
up,
I'm doing.
you're doing what I just said.
I shouldn't, yeah, I'm going down to up, but
You're going down to up, which is a good thing.
yeah.
You don't want to go up. Oops. You don't want to go up to down.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You want to go down to up. So that's a big regret.
Yeah, because your hair just starting to get a little funky, and then you're like,
yeah, totally. And when it comes to your hair and makeup for wedding day, what you want to tell your makeup artist is, I want to look naturally like myself with a little bit of oomph. So please keep it natural. And I think the one bride who did this best was Sophia Richie. She kept it natural, but with a little bit of oomph. That
yeah, it only took probably 2 hours to make her look natural and rested, but that's the point.
100%.
Like, it doesn't have to be quick. It just has to look natural.
Absolutely. And you do have beautiful skin and natural, and keep it natural.
I'm trying but that's like my biggest variable. Like, you
Yeah.
can predict the dress, you can predict the flowers, you can predict all of these things, but like hair and makeup is kind of like tick, tick, tick. Or what if they break their leg? Like, I'm just like,
Yeah. No, knock wood on that one.
yeah.
But but it is the
They
hair
can always
and the makeup.
sit in the wedding in the chair while they do my hair and makeup. So leg is, I guess, okay,
Yeah,
as long
yeah.
as they're both
Yes,
heads.
yes. Just show up, do the hair and the makeup. You know, it's hard because on wedding day, you don't ever look at yourself in the mirror. So you don't even know what it's looking like. Like, you get your hair and makeup done, you move on to photos, and you're never really looking at yourself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. But for that, I would say a trial. Are you going to get to do a trial with any?
Yes, but I'm thinking whether one is enough or should I do a couple?
Do the one and see how it goes. If it's not good,
Yeah.
then you do it again and you give feedback.
I just wanted to get close to the wedding. I
Yes.
trust the people that I'm with, like
Yes.
100%. But once I have this like true vision of like, okay, this is the dress, this is it. Like, not like do a hair and makeup and then 6 months later get married. Like, it's going to be
Yeah.
right before the wedding, pretty much.
I love that. You're going to be fine. I would just say put your worries. This is what I tell all my couples. Put your worries in the hands of your makeup artist, because they're going to take care of you, and your hair artist. Just put your worries there. Put the trust in them. Don't put the energy out there that you're worried about it, because it's going to come back to you. Just like, I shift my trust into you. All my worries go to you. You got me. And
Yes,
it's going to be
and
good.
also like there's something to be said about different like, it's crazy, and I don't want to complain because like our budget was, I thought, really high, and we're paying double of what our budget was.
Happens all the time.
Yes, because it's just like things add up, and it's, if I tell you that we hired a venue and then we found out just 2 weeks ago that the venue doesn't come with electricity. So it's another $8,000 for 1 day of electricity. This should
This
be
happens.
illegal.
This happens.
So please read your contract. And
Yes.
if it doesn't mention that electricity is included, which for me is like, how can you rent a venue without electricity? Then I would be super careful.
Yes.
That's why it's almost like pick the venue, but also quickly hire the wedding planner so you don't pay for the venue.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. Even in a perfect world, you're hiring your planner before your venue.
Yeah.
Because they know these contracts and they are looking over these contracts and they are working with you. And ideally, in a perfect world, you're picking a planner who has worked with that venue
Yeah.
and those partners before. Because if they've done it before, they know the strengths, the weaknesses, and all the little loopholes that go along with it. And that expertise and that level of knowledge is worth every penny you pay to that wedding planner in and of itself.
Yeah. And so I wish we shared the contract because we like wanted to save the date. And then it was so funny. So our venue had a list of only 3 wedding planners that are allowed to work at that venue.
Yes.
They're very specific.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, cool. We don't have much to choose from, but I can see why, because they're just like really, really good and really helpful.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to like save yourself the hassle about stuff like that. So a lot of things, when I see that some people charge $15,000 or $25,000, like if I ask prices in LA for wedding makeup, and I'm just like,
wait, that's how much wedding makeup costs? I just learned something new today.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So it's like, it's obviously because it's like you pay for every travel date, for the assistant, for business class.
Okay.
One shoot date, so one wedding day is at $8.5K. Then it's like if you want welcome, then that's 16.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're flying them in.
Yeah.
It's not someone local to the venue.
No, but some of the local people within the area that we were in, like the prices weren't as different. So I'm just like,
really?
huh? It's not possible. Like,
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But at least I guess it's someone local. So have you used them before or no? Are you?
So I'm having someone. I have people from Poland just
Yeah.
because I have experience like doing TV
Good.
there.
Good.
And so I know that these people will be quick because they worked so many live shows before. Like,
amazing.
that there's no. I did my TV show with my my Damien, and we would like change the outfits and like hair really, really quickly. So I know
Beautiful.
that he's not gonna waste an hour of my wedding day changing my hair.
And that is a huge thing that makeup artists regret from
Yeah.
brides is that I was in the hair and makeup chair and I was late to my wedding for too long. So
Yeah.
that point right there is so important. How quickly do your hair and makeup artists last? How quickly do they work? Number one. And are you going to be on time to your wedding?
Yes. And just some food for thought. Like some really big artists are amazing and like awesome. But sometimes I feel like the hair and the makeup people are so big. They make your wedding about themselves. And I see them filming you and showing off their work and kind of doing the same style or the same makeup on every single bride. And so I'm like, all of these brides look kind of the same. And I'm like, it's cool, but like, I wonder how much of your personality is in that look. Right. And I think I would want someone who's just kind of like there and see like what works for you, Aggie. Like, which is, you said, the Sophia Ricci, like the softness, the delicate, instead of like going, wow, it's just like a little bit more delicate. So
yeah, I don't ever recommend to like experiment with hair and makeup on your wedding day, right? Like if you never wear your hair up, you should not be doing an updo for your wedding day.
Yeah.
Right. So like you want to look like yourself, just a little notch up. And when I say a notch up, not that you look better, but your photo and camera ready, right? Because there's a different level of makeup that you do, like extra lashes to make your eyes look bigger on
100%.
camera and photo, right? So like that's the difference, is that when I say your everyday, just one notch up so that it photographs and translates really beautifully in photo and video.
100%. Even right now when you're watching this podcast, you probably see like, Aggie barely has any makeup. I have makeup for like every day, but every time I watch back the podcast, I'm like, it looks like I have no makeup.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a great conversation. I feel like you need to come back after I get married so we can do part 2.
I would love that, a debriefing.
Yeah.
And then we could talk about what your like
what
favorite parts.
Yeah.
What were your regrets? I would love to know, like, what would you have done differently?
Please.
Yeah. Or like, what was a good experience, or what was something that was so amazing that you didn't expect? I would have so many. Maybe I interview you.
Yeah. Perfect.
I interview you. I ask all the questions. This next one.
I love it. where can people find you?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram at Lovella Bridal, at Lovella Plus, at Wedding Fashion Expert, TikTok at Lovella Bridal, and at Wedding Fashion Expert. And I also have a YouTube channel, which is Wedding Fashion Expert.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
This was so fun. I love
loved
it. Thank you.